Okay, so I'm starting really with the Grow Fund because हम बहुत बात कर सकते हैं about what makes a great collaborative and how you make a great collaborative and honestly what is a great collaborative. So, but I thought, okay, let's spend about 5 to 10 minutes showing you what the Grow Fund as a collaborative is, and then we can sit and talk about more in depth on any aspects or answer your questions, or I'll take you through the journey as well. So what is the Grow Fund? COVID के वक्त पे शुरू. Hello?
Can we zoom it a little bit more?
Oh, sure. Wait. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Is it zoom for you?
Yes.
All right. This is good. Okay, so Grow Fund is a thought that happened during COVID. Or Grow Fund honestly was a thought जो COVID की वजह से जल्दी हो गया, but it was in the making for a while, where the entire idea is around like 2015-16 में जब हम generally analysis कर रहे थे EdelGive में, we realized that ऐसे कहते हैं कि इंडिया में 30 million NGOs है, 3 million NGOs है, करोड़ों की NGOs है, but actually operating NGOs more or less कुछ 1 lakh है. And for a country that has more than 1 billion people, 100,000 NGOs is actually not much. But the shocker for us was that when we saw the resource analysis, 1% of the NGOs had access to 99% of the funding in the sector. And 99% of the NGOs were feeding off the 1%. And ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा गलत लगा. Like we knew that there are large foundations and small, but this kind of an abysmal number tells you that there is the problem of inequity that we are out to solve. The development sector is also becoming, that same problem is kind of replicating itself in the development sector. So Grow Fund came from there. कि जो grassroots में काम करते हैं उनके लिए fund. And we said that let's address the need of capacity building, the need of funding core cost, and for funding future readiness. So let's hunt for 100 great NGOs of a certain size from across the sector. Let's fund same amount. So हर NGO को 40 lakhs per year each for 2 years मिले. साथ में capacity building का एक vertical हो और narrative shift का एक vertical. हमारा role as for ये क्या होगा कि हम optimally fund करेंगे, sustainable रहेंगे, reach last mile reach करेंगे. तो NGOs के लिए important है जो grassroots में काम करते हैं कि उनके लिए fund बने. The operation of the fund looks like this. That EdelGive would be in charge of monitoring. EdelGive will be in charge of rigorous due diligence. Okay. Funders और हर type के funders जो है ये contribute करेंगे to Grow Fund और 100 grassroots vetted NGOs होंगे जिसमें capacity building, core cost और future readiness होंगे. So in operation, this is what the fund looks like. और अगर मैं आगे और ले जाऊं, इसमें हमारे पास all for that 100 crore, we have around 30 partners. I'm taking their names here because exceptional, brilliant people who hopped on and came and joined this journey of the Grow Fund. I hope I was not too fast. Now, why did I show you this fund? इसमें आप एक देखेंगे तो सबसे पहले there is a role clarity. Okay, EdelGive knows how to fund NGOs. EdelGive has been funding NGOs for more than a decade. मतलब कुछ 15 साल से हम फंडिंग कर रहे हैं. लेकिन अगर हम सोचें कि 40 NGOs को फंड करना है तो EdelGive कर सकता है. पर अगर पूरे देश भर में ढूंढना है और एक ऐसा मॉडल बनाना है जो एक बार न चले, बार बार चले और जिसको हम रेप्लिकेट कर पाए और जिसके वजह से हम फंडर्स को इकट्ठा कर पाए, तो ये EdelGive अकेले नहीं कर सकता. That means that EdelGive needs a collaborative model to come. We need funders to come and join hands. We need EdelGive to be the advisor, the manager, the fund manager, and we need the NGOs to be the last mile operators. This model became very clear, role clarity happened. 2 things that were very important here. One is we went to the funders and we clarified their role for them. The funders were given a set of expectations that they have to have when they are funding Grow Fund. Okay? This was in my view, very rarely operated model where we went to a funder and we said, अगर आपने Grow Fund join करना है, तो ये उसके terms and conditions हैं. One is that you are not a funder, you are a shareholder. The problem is that there is a resilience challenge in the country. The grassroots NGOs are operating under huge stress, and we are trying to create a model where we hunt for smaller NGOs and fund it. So join this mission, fund this process, and join in as shareholders. And our favorite example used to be कि अगर आप suppose ICICI बैंक के shares खरीदते हो, तो आप क्या हर महीने आपको रिपोर्ट आती है कि आपके बगल के ब्रांच मैनेजर को इस महीने की सैलरी मिल गई? No? ऐसे नहीं होता. आप साल के बाद में एनुअल रिजल्ट देखते हो, आप स्टॉक मार्केट देखते हो, आपके 3-4 इंडिकेटर होते हैं और आप इस वजह से स्टॉक में इन्वेस्ट करते हो और उन 3-4 इंडिकेटर्स को मॉनिटर करते हो. तो अगर आप ऐसे फ्यूचरिस्टिक मॉडल के लिए आ रहे हो तो आप भी शेयर होल्डर्स के तौर पे आइए और 3 लेवल पे आइए, लार्ज फंडर, मिड फंडर एंड स्मॉल फंडर, and you come in as a shareholder of that, and all funders have the same rights. They just have a larger stake. Second thing that we said is that every funder will get the same report. So we have the job of reporting and M&E receiving from the 100 NGOs. We are the collators. We are going to be analyzing. We're going to be responsible to make sure it works. And we will give one report to the entire funding group. Okay. And each one of the names that I've put out there have agreed to that term, which also is quite remarkable. क्योंकि ये छोटे प्रोजेक्ट में भी नहीं होता है, सबको अलग अलग चाहिए, बट हमारे से ये हो गया और इतना फेथ के साथ में फंडर्स आए that our enablement happened because of the trust that was put in us. So that was number one, that first the role definition of what is EdelGive's job, what is a funder's job, and what is the grassroots job. Second is a definition of what is the scope, span of control that is there with each one of us and who's responsible to whom, which job is under whom. Defining that very, very clearly was very, very important at that point. The third was the backend structure, and the backend structure meant everything from proposing to the funder that you please request for funding, right down to the report that we have to send back after deploying the money, having the organizations work, is a full backend process, and we have to run it like a process company and not like a funder who wants to give grants. So we had to separate, and this is the third, and I think one of the biggest learnings that we could deploy, which is for anything long lasting, you have to separate purpose and mission and process. Okay. And I'll take a minute of this point and I'll tell you what I'm saying. कि अगर suppose EdelGive चाहता है कि हमारा मिशन है कि हम एजुकेशन पे काम करें, ठीक, और हमने डिसाइड किया है कि हमारे पास 5 करोड़ है और हम सालाना 5 करोड़ एजुकेशन में डालेंगे. अब अगर ये मेरा पर्पस है तो मेरा सारा प्रोसेस वो पर्पस के लिए बनेगा, which is my entire process is के एजुकेशन के NGOs ढूंढे जाएं, उनको फंडिंग दी जाए, उनकी मॉनिटरिंग हो, तो हमारा पर्पस और हमारा प्रोसेस एकदम यूं सा जुड़ा हुआ रहता है. अगर 2 साल बाद EdelGive ने सोचा कि चलो आज हम सोचते हैं कि लाइवलीहुड में जाएं, तो मेरा पूरा बैकएंड प्रोसेस हिल जाता है, क्योंकि एक तो मैंने 5 करोड़ के लिए बनाया, दूसरा मैंने एजुकेशन के लिए बनाया, और तीसरा मैंने सिर्फ खुद के लिए बनाया. लेकिन अगर हम पर्पस को अलग रखें और ये बोले कि EdelGive ग्रांट देगा और बढ़िया ग्रांट देगा और रिपोर्टिंग सही होगी ना, तो प्रोसेस कुछ भी हो, चाहे हम एजुकेशन फंड करें या हम साबुन बेचें, हमारा बैक एंड प्रोसेस ऑफ मैनेजमेंट हैज टू बी clean of that. So it taught us that if we focus on the process and ensure that our process is clean, simple, replicable, and addressing the larger scope of work and not just that purpose, it can be replicated faster. So we had to create a backend that supported 1,000 NGOs, and this growth supports only 100. So we planned at that level. Therefore, our backend is geared to manage 100 grants at one time, deploy funds in one session, do compliance within a week for 100 NGOs. ये सब backend capability इसलिए बनी क्योंकि हमने सोचा कि देना है 1000 ग्रांट तो कैसे बनाए. So we separated it. And then we said, नहीं, grow का mission है कि 100 NGOs need to be after 2 years feeling हाँ कुछ सही हुआ, हम stronger हैं, हमारे पास और फंड रेजिंग एबिलिटी है, हमारे टीम्स और आसानी से काम कर रहे हैं, ये पर्पस है. दैट्स द थर्ड थिंग that went a long way in this. And with these 3 lessons and that document, I just like to pause here because it'll become a little bit too much, and open to Meena as well as you all for any questions and any doubts so far also, please ask.
Thanks so much, Naghma. I think that was really nicely put together, and I've also made some notes, but I'm going to, like you said, open it up, find out if there are any of the people here in this room who've been listening with rapt attention, I may tell you, have any questions or comments. Doesn't have to be a question, it could even be a comment. No?
या तो मैं कुछ ज्यादा ही ब्रिलियंट बातें कर रही हूँ.
No, there's somebody who's raised her hand. No, number 1 6. Somebody's raised her hand, but you'll have to come here.
आ जाइए, बताइए.
Meera, come up in front.
Come here. Idhar aaja.
Ask your question.
It'll be easier if you.
Can you see me now?
No, come in front.
No, we
Yeah.
so,
No, I can see you. I can see you.
Okay. No, my question is, I mean, first of all, it's wonderful to see that a coalition like this, especially when it comes to funders, I think one of the key concerns for any NGO is हर funder को अलग-अलग report भेजना, monthly MIS या जो भी है, but it's commendable what you've done with the kind of funders that you've shown us. My question to you is, when it comes to NGOs जो last mile reach करते हैं, what is the selection process like when it comes to choosing the NGOs?
Yeah. Thank you. That's a very good question. So what I explained to you was the resource part of it. Okay. तो ये सारा process और ये सारी मेहनत इसलिए है क्योंकि for us the grassroots work has to be protected. मतलब you facilitate it with good funding and advice, but you don't burden them with the administrative hurdles that come with serving this kind of a grant. So firstly, the rules that came about is these have to be NGOs who can manage 40 lakhs of core cost worth grant given CSR and FCRA rules. The backend has to be able to manage the rules. Therefore, after the whole math calculation, the base number, so annual budget of 1.5 crores for the NGO to start with, and the maximum budget was 10 crores. Now, why 1.5 to 10? Because we also put some rules. We said 100 में से 25% will come from each zone, north, south, east, west. Okay, because we are saying pan India, मतलब we cannot have no rules. नहीं तो हमारे पास वही cluster में से आएंगे. So we put those rules. Second rule we put is 10% max per sector, which is education, livelihoods, healthcare, सब में maximum 10%. तो grow में 9 big sectors है और 10% जो है उसमें LGBTQ, animal rights जैसी जो ज्यादा fund popular causes नहीं है वो वहां पर आते हैं. अभी हमने ये 3 रूल्स के साथ में फिर सिलेक्शन क्राइटेरिया किया कि इंडिजिनस कम्युनिटीज के साथ काम करते हैं, लीडरशिप में औरतें हैं, बोर्ड पे कौन है, कितने लंबे अरसे से काम कर रहे हैं, what is their repository of work. But the form, and even Prava can vouch for it, the form was after putting all these rules in place was simplified to really understand requirement. कि कोविड के वक्त पे क्या हुआ, उनके अच्छे काम को कितना हिट हुआ, और and in that sense doing a bit of, in all of this, the need analysis, that who needs us most. Like some very lovely organizations working on arts and culture, unka obviously arts and culture takes the first hit, causes like that takes the first hit, and some 2 decades ka kaam unka pura wash out ho gaya tha. So the form was more about listening in, and these were the criteria based on which we shortlisted: need, location, sector, the work history that they have, how badly they had been impacted, and the only, I think, absolute non-negotiable was compliance, because agar hum 100 ke saath ye risk le rahe hain, to compliance pe we couldn't compromise even 1%. So that was the only non-flexible thing. Everything else was kept so that it becomes an inclusive fund.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question to ask Naghma because it's just also the first time I'm really getting to know you getting to know the Grow Fund so closely. And the question that I have is really how, because all the funders that you had on your list are also very clear about the kind of sectors they want to support or what is their mission, etc., etc. So really wanted to understand from you because, and I think this one is probably one of the first such funds that is a collaborative fund, right? From a funding perspective.
Yeah.
So just wanted to understand what were some of the challenges you may have faced in bringing these people on board, and what actually, in a sense, made it happen. I love what you said about the road clarity and those principles. I think those are really, really critical. But just trying to understand what were the challenges and also what really clicked also for the funders.
So I'll tell you what clicked and then the challenges. Number one is that, and this is a lesson that it's been a lesson even for me, that target itna bada tha that planning also was big. See, the Grow actually was a short note that I had written one evening in huge anger after distributing some grants that had come for relief, where I had realized that chai pani ka bhi budget nahi tha isme. No. So it was more of an angry thing that COVID में बंद है, मतलब 24 घंटे हैं काम करने को दिन के, तो फिर उसका एक proposal बनाया. It came from, okay, if this something like this has to be done, it cannot be done with 10 funders, 10 NGOs pooling in money, because it has to shake people up कि हाँ ये हो सकता है. तो अगर ये करना है तो छोटे लेवल पे नहीं करना, और अगर बड़े लेवल पे करना है तो उनसे बात करना है जिनको समझ आए कि हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं. So when it became 100 crore fund, then I had to think of who is even able to fund at that level. Okay, and they may fund small. मतलब हो सकता है कोई फंडर 100 करोड़ अकेले ही दे पाए, लेकिन वो देगा एक ही. बट क्या है कि जिसको 100 करोड़ देना आता है उसको 100 करोड़ क्या क्या कर सकता है उसका इमेजिनेशन होता है. So the target group became very clear, like how many such funders will be there. And number one is the target group. So I think I spent more time thinking about who to go to than going to people. So I spent a lot more time on planning के किसके पास जाना है और किस order में जाना है. Second is that for something like this, which is a new idea, it had to be a nucleus based model. मतलब it's very important who are the first two people who say yes.
Yeah.
Because अगर कोई non-entity बहुत बड़े दिल का लेकिन unknown हो, तो there is no pulling power. So it had to be somebody who pulls. So my first 20 list was very easy. कि ये 20 है और इनको मैंने पहले informally भेज दिया कि ये idea है, कैसा लगा? They came back said अच्छा लगा. Then I said कर रही हूँ, fund करोगे क्या? It actually became like a dipstick test. So honestly, Meena, one thing I've realized in the whole fundraising game, हम लोग perfect pitch बनाने में बहुत busy होते हैं. Sometimes perfect pitch होता ही नहीं है. There is nothing like a perfect pitch. Sometimes it's about, have you found your soulmate there?
Yeah.
Who will walk that? So that is the lesson that I've learned. कि perfect pitch से पहले होना चाहिए perfect partner. उसको समझ आ रही है क्या? तो if you see, the entire list have independent mandates. They came together because the idea was that Grow, if this Grow pulls off, you can make a Grow for your own.
Okay.
Okay. If you're funding at a large scale climate, a Grow for climate can happen. If you want to do gender, a Grow for gender would happen. And why will it happen? Because me and the foundation is not going to do itna sara mehnat for one round.
Yeah.
So that's how the discussions, really happened. And people trusted the word. They put themselves out. The first two funders in India and the first two funders in the world internationally were, I think, a very good pool for the rest to come in. That's the nice, beautiful part of the story. The challenges are कि अगर 30 funder है तो 30 due diligence है मेरे. Okay. 30 meetings to answer their questions about us. At least 50% of them audited us. My teams had to respond. My books were out for scrutiny. Okay, because see, if they're going to give you flexibility on one thing, they're obviously going to test you on everything else, right? So there is nothing called flexible money, and there's nothing called free money. You have to prove your worthiness in taking it. So we were put through that test. Second या third lesson जो था मेरा ये था कि we had to say no to a lot of money, because there were a sizable number of people who loved the idea but said अगर इसमें मेरे 10 NGO डाल दोगे तो मैं फंड कर दूंगा. मतलब ये 100 में से आप इसको या तो 110 का फंड बना दो, या तो 10 मेरे रख लो और 90 बाहर से ले आओ. ओके, और इसमें मेरा ये गारंटी दे दो, या तो वो गारंटी दे दो और हम इसमें 5 करोड़ डाल देंगे और 10 करोड़ डाल देंगे. Now that was a more of a value question. That if we are saying हमारा पूरा process out for scrutiny है और कोई आके हमसे पूछ सकता है, तो we cannot corrupt the process like this. So I have raised less money. I have said no to more. And that's a big question, a big lesson on that.
Yeah, super. That's like really amazing. I think that couldn't have been easy, because there is obviously you have a vision, and it's so tempting when you know also the numbers that you said, 1% getting 99% and the 99% not getting anything. So tempting. So I think a huge amount of, I guess, commitment to the process that you'd set up. Yeah. And I think that itself would probably build a lot of respect amongst everybody else then. Sometimes saying no actually makes people respect you also a little bit more.
वो respect बड़ी महंगी चीज है. Okay, तो respect is, but it's the thing ना. देखिए, इतना अगर इतनी मेहनत करके 10 काम कर रहे हो और एक काम से उस पे सब पे compromise हो सकता है, then I mean, then it's a call, right? I mean, somebody would have taken it. We couldn't, because फिर हम बाकी जो आए हैं उनको क्या जवाब देंगे?
Yeah, there's a question here. Just stand up and speak, because then she'll be able to see you better.
Hi, Naghma, can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah. My name is Divya. So I have 2 questions. One is that just because, like we mentioned, you mentioned in the paper itself that it's the 100 organizations that are being funded under this. So one is that these organizations must be getting a huge network in the sense that they can learn from each other. So are there things like that happening? Second is that what is the transition sort of looks like when you fund them a certain amount for a certain period of time, and when an organization you uses that amount and reaches a certain level, what happens next to, how do you sort of still remain connected to them, or is there any other phase for the organization after that? So yeah.
All right, no, great question. The 100 organizations have a network. We are not prescribing that they network with each other. We have put them together, and we are, so this is, see, in this entire process, there are some things that we have consciously said, ये यहाँ तक करेंगे, उसके आगे we leave it to the ecosystem. Our job is to build the ecosystem, to make the 100 network with each other. We can encourage, but we are not going to prescribe. So we are not even monitoring that and saying कि X ने Y से सीखा, Y से, तो हमको calls में समझ में आता है that there is a network, especially when we have like the Northeast cluster call, or we'll have the South of India call. तभी there's a lot of चर्चा that happens in front of us between them, saying बहुत सालों से आपको नहीं देखा. तो एक ही जगह पे काम करने वाले एक दूसरे से बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारे कॉल्स पे, हमारे व्हाट्सएप्स पे कर रहे हैं. तो ये पता है, but I wouldn't take credit of this because we have not pushed for it. We are hoping that this inorganically happens, because I mean, there is, at one point you have to say यहाँ तक मैंने किया, आगे बाकियों ने उठाना है. That is the second thing is this question that you have is still something that we get asked, that 2 साल में तो प्रॉब्लम खत्म नहीं होने वाली, तो क्या इनका राउंड 2 होगा, क्या आप इनका MNE करेंगे, कैसे आपको पता है कि 4 साल बाद इनका ये प्रॉब्लम ना आ जाए. So here the decision is a harsh word, but the take that we have on it is the whole grow process is a growth and resilience fund for wellness, an organization wellness. And 2 years post the trauma that COVID was, the first purpose was to give some organization support while people can fundraise, stabilize, a lot of good happens. Now we are hoping that in the 2 years that through more networking, through the ability to fundraise and the fact that it's an EdelGive vetted program, there is an ability to take it on from there. Because we had two options. One is we should do round 2 with the same. The second option is we should do more grows with more NGOs, so that the ecosystem gets a new set of 100. And so our leaning honestly is towards the second, because we are hoping this 100 takes off from where it is. We'll keep supporting, but not in this intensive way. And we should do more grows to get more organizations in this network. Otherwise, we create another problem. कि वही 100 को हम 5 साल 6 साल fund कर रहे हैं. Instead, we let them move off.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Naghma. So my question is, since the fund you get is from various sources like CSR, foundation and all, and they all are governed by different acts and, government compliances. And as a fund manager, what are the compliances that you have to keep in mind? Because mutual funds and all have SEBI and all to comply to, but this is a unique fund, and how does it look for you all?
So it's not fund. EdelGive itself, we have RBI, SEBI, MHA, IT, all of that. So we've got multiple acts, including me. There are 5 CAs in the team of 33. That is the amount of compliance that we have to manage, because we receive from about 60-70 funders and we give to a 160 200 के बीच में range है हमारे funding का. So the level of compliance that we operate on is very, very high, and we have these 3 almost like process sets depending on where the money is coming from. So international money coming, how is it going to be handled from the point of proposal to the point of deployment? Similarly, the Indian individual money, similarly the Indian CSR money. So, वो सब solidly processized है and very, very strongly governed है. And apart from the CSR and IT and CSR, IT, FCRA, we have RBI and SEBI to report.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking around the room just to check, but otherwise I have a couple of more questions. Anybody here? Kanti, you have something?
Yeah,
Right. Oh, one.
Hi.
Hello.
This is Rupal. So I wanted to ask that whether you choose funders before the grassroots levels organizations, or you choose grassroots level organizations based on funders requirement for CSR.
No. So दोनों को separate रखा. Did not. So funders were not allowed. I'm not allowed is a bad word. Funders had no say in selection. Selection was an open process. 20 languages में outreach हुआ है और 2,355 registrations आई. उसमें से shortlist हुआ. Shortlist process was up for audit. So very clear. We made it so public that funder voice could not impact the selection. However, for us to even go out there and saying we will fund, we had to raise money. So in order of action, first we raised, then we deployed.
So when those funds are restricted, how do you manage it? Like,
हाँ, तो पीछे उसका पूरा I think ISDM has a rubric concept, right? We had that for our funding, which is कहाँ से आ रहा है, कहाँ जा सकता है. FCRA आ रहा है तो कितने NGOs में जा सकता है, उनका बजट कितना होना चाहिए, एनुअल बजट, उनकी रिपोर्टिंग क्या होनी चाहिए. So how many NGOs do we need who have FCRA registration? Like this is all before we have done outreach. That kind of planning. अगर CSR का पैसा है, उसके restrictions क्या है? So any foundation that comes, these are the 3 rules. We had at least 15 set of rules that we first put down. And then we said to manage this, we will have to have these requirements as we give the fund. So ये सब mapping हुआ, then outreach began.
Okay, thank you.
Come here, you'll have to come here.
See you.
Hi Naghma,
Hi.
Prateeksha here.
Hi.
We are having a class on collectives here, and as you said in the beginning that you have been part of many collectives. Just wanted to understand what are some of the challenges you faced working in a collective?
Thank you. That's a great question, and I'm glad that we are not talking about money now, right? Because running a collective, the fund and the fundraising and the fund deployment problem that tends to take over what running. The biggest, singularly most defining challenge that I see, which is unspoken about in a collective, is that people who join it do not realize that they've joined to give away their power. So people think they're joining with their power and their name, and then they will bring a lot to this conversation and they will make the collective better. The best people in the world do that. Okay, because we believe that when we're walking into a room, we are coming with our knowledge, our experience, and our understanding. So I've seen the best of folks coming in to contribute to a collective and make it better in some form or fashion. However, the defining piece on any collective is it is loss of power. Okay, you are all sitting in this room there. Some of you are in the chair and some of you are sitting on the floor, because together there is a collective feeling that this session needs to be absorbed, or we need to go through an hour together in a comfortable form of fashion. And some people decided to sit on the floor, some people decided, and nobody really thought, but your biggest mission was we will be comfortably listening in. Okay, if instead you coming in saying that I want the best chair, which is what happens in a collective, that I want to sit in the most comfortable chair because mera knowledge bhi to hai. So this is unspoken. Collectivization is all about giving away your power, because that is what you have to listen to somebody else. You have to give away 40% of your knowledge and say, maybe I'm wrong and we'll accommodate. Zyadatar people are not ready for that, and it takes a while for that understanding to blend. And where that blend happens, things move forward. Otherwise, collectives become clubs.
Just want to, what, you have question? Yeah.
No, something touched my heart. So beautiful. And I think this is a little bit what we were talking about today, Naghma. We just had a session before about how working together and how the giving away of what you have, not knowing whether you want to get back, what are you want to get back, but it's really coming to the space in a way like the broken squares we play. The only act you can do is give away your power and not worry about, or you don't know what's going to happen next. It's really going with the flow. And I just want to hear, how does it feel for you? I mean, like doing this process and just comparing it also a little bit to being, because you're both a leader of an organization and you're a leader of a collective. So just in terms of leadership, you, of course, this giving away power is really the most powerful statement, that if we can take away this learning about collectives is big. But just a little bit comparing your experience, therefore, as a human being, as a professional and as a person in the development sector, a little bit comparing this experience of organization and collectives, and therefore the benefits of both and pitfalls of others. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. That's a very big question for me. See, my journey, whether in the development sector, started from being a nobody here. I may be a chartered accountant. I'm quite embarrassed that I'm a chartered accountant, I should tell you.
Actually, so sorry, because just talking about your journey, that's something we haven't inquired yet. Neenu, can I ask her to?
Yeah.
Just if you can also bring a little bit of that. We want to know Naghma also as a person and her journey, because that's beautiful. So if you can connect these threads, it will be lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of collaborative work comes because I grew up in a joint family. 20 saal tak, when you're in 4 rooms with 18 people, you learn how to collaborate, and and if you are the eldest daughter or the eldest son, you know how to lead a collaborative also, So, but jokes apart, by the time I had become a young wife, then a young mother. I was a young CA, so everything happened a little premature. But then there was 8 years of no work. Like I decided I will not work. So I am now 45. I have had 8 years of not working. So by the time I stepped back into this world, everyone had forgotten who I was. But most importantly, I didn't like who I was. I didn't want to be a CA anymore. So it was almost like, this is me. I have my brain and I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. See, and then it was, honestly, I think I've said this time and again, I traveled a lot, and every time I traveled, the generosity of the people who chose to share with me, the patience, whether I went to, Alwar, or whether I went to Rajasthan, the West Bengal or wherever, I think I was a fairly senior looking person who was asking very juvenile questions. But I was given so much generously in terms of understanding, explaining, and I think I was absorbing it like a sponge. I'm curious by nature, but and so it's a very deep lesson for me, how to learn when people don't want to teach, and how to learn and how to learn whether anyone wants to teach or not. Second is I was half corporate, I was always half, like it's a schizophrenic. People don't know what to make of me. ये corporate leader है, कि ये NGO चला रही है, कि ये fundraising कर रही है. So there's a bit of a confusion about Naghma actually करती क्या है. And I could fight that, or I could use it to my advantage. I am whatever you want me to be today. All right. And again, that turned out to be again the biggest gift, because in every room, I became what was required.
Wow.
No, you want me, I mean, and that, when I realize when you become that, or when that ability is there, people also give you more. I've only gotten, I mean, I can hardly remember the bad times, because the good times have superseded, because people just gifted me with knowledge, and I used it. I mean, the only credit to me is I used it, but was given that. And so my entry to the entire development sector also was, मतलब लोगों को समझ में नहीं आ रहा था इसका करें क्या, ये पूछ रही है बता देते हैं, बहुत प्यार से बताते थे, अच्छे से पूछ रही है, तो it was really like a sister or a friend or something. But I was hugely restless. So where am I in the scheme of things was very important. Okay, my second thing that is very inherent to me is, if you won't miss me when I'm gone, I don't want to do anything. I have to do work that is missed. If I'm not home, अभी मैं घर में बैठ के अच्छी किताब पढ़ सकती हूँ, कोई नेटफ्लिक्स देख सकती हूँ, मैं चाय पी सकती हूँ, मैं यहाँ पर बैठ के 1 घंटा मैं खुद दे रही हूँ या 1 दिन दे रही हूँ, तो उसका कोई मतलब होना चाहिए. See, the only thing that we have is our time, and how we use it is in our hands. बाकी हर चीज सबके हाथ में है, but मेरा वक्त तो मेरा है ना. So if I was learning how to put it to good use, where I cannot compete with you, Ashraf. तुमको जो आता है वो मुझे उसका 10% भी नहीं आता. तो मुझे क्या आता है? So I'm not competing only. I'm saying this is what I do. Let me do this best.
Right.
And maybe it will be valuable to you. Maybe it will be valuable to somebody else. That's how I entered into this whole collaborative space where, okay, Kevalya knows how to do education, but I know how to talk to somebody else who will bridge that gap between government and Kevalya. Or something like that. So I just became everywhere. I became that extra hota hai na, the oiling, the machinery. That's how it happened. So yeah, it's I forgot your original question, but I think I've answered it.
I think I forgot also. There's a tendency to get lost in, beautifully lost in what you're saying. Naghma, I've heard you on many times also, and your recent, I think TEDx, some YouTube talk, which is really beautiful. So you will obviously have a way as a communicator. So I won't sort of take over the session. I love this. But yeah, no, you did. We don't have to get black and white about these questions. I think your journey was important to a little bit to hear. Yeah, opening it back.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, thanks a lot, Ashraf, for that question, and Naghma for that really lovely answer. I think just you talked about it in terms of how you related with so many people and you learned so much from everybody and what you bring, which is your own superpower of being whatever is needed at that point in time and whatever the superpowers you bring. I'm just, just continuing in that little bit of a personal vein, just wanting to, I would love to hear from you one story, one experience that made it all worth it, that you felt like, wow, this one stays, this is why I'm here.
Oh yeah.
I continue to do what I do.
No, I've been blessed. I've been blessed with quite a few of such moments. They came a little late, but they make everything really worth it. So if I have to tell you that there's a series of anecdotes around our gender collaborative. So around 2015 में हमने पहला education collaborative कर दिया था. Education was fairly simple because SLOs are universally accepted. तो बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट था, बड़ा हो गया, 7 फंडर, 3 NGO, government participation. The model was done, and then I said, तभी I read an OECD report जिसमें लिखा था कि globally women related issues पे 4% का philanthropy खर्चा होता है, 4%. And the maths buff in me was very perplexed because मैं तभी 3 साल I was in the sector. And I was very confused कि जिसको देखो वो, they talk about women's issues, women are big, women are smart, women are everything, we fund women, and how can this number be so bad? और ऐसे बोला जा रहा था कि इंडिया का नंबर और भी खराब है, which is between 2 to 3% of Indian philanthropy spends on women. So I had that year, obviously काम तो कम था तभी, तो I was just learning. So I got somebody in Edelweiss to fix me up with 60 private equity funders. And who were, just 15-minute interviews. 15-minute interviews, no ask. And I would go there and I would see these young men. Almost everybody was between 35 and 45, obviously very accomplished, almost uniform, homogeneous group of extremely wealthy people who cut big size checks. And I would ask them about, do they fund gender? And they would say, of course, everyone said they fund gender. And then I understood that हर जगह कोई या एक स्कूल या कोई आश्रम या कोई कोई कुछ तो फंड कर ही रहा है जिसमें से 20-25% तो बच्चियां या औरतें हैं, तो they think they fund gender. So first I understood that this is the way the metrics is being considered by the funders. Second is, as I spoke to them, और 15 मिनट के conversation में इतना समझ में आया कि and they're all decent people. They're all decent men. They treated me with respect. They answered my questions. But I understood from that experience that this man, has a very linear experience in life. This man has typically come from a fairly upper middle class background. Has been rewarded for his actions on his life. अच्छा पढ़ा, promote हुआ, अच्छी college में गया, Ivy League में गया, ऑफिस में गया, कॉर्नर ऑफिस मिल गई. इसमें किसी के माँ बाप का डिवोर्स हो गया, किसी के पेरेंट्स नहीं है, किसी के भाई से झगड़ा है. No matter what, the trajectory is the same. There is an enabling environment even in crisis for this man. And me as a lower middle income group person who had become a CA and knew the women, I was absolutely shocked कि औरतों के लिए तो ऐसा नहीं होता, तुम बहुत अच्छा पढ़ो तो भी यार साथ में दाल बना दे, नहीं तो शादी नहीं होगी, चश्मा लग गया तेरे को शादी नहीं होगी, ये नहीं हो गया तेरे को शादी नहीं होगी. That this is how we were grown, मैथ क्यों पढ़ रही है, ये कौन देखता है, आर्ट्स कर ले. Everywhere you are studying, achieving in spite of this. You do your best and you hear, अरे ये तो कर दिया लेकिन शादी कब होगी. So for that man, if the woman is not sitting with him in the boardroom, she has not tried hard enough. Okay. And that was a very, very big, I think one of my pivotal moments in understanding funder behavior was that this decent, well-meaning man who cuts checks for a living thinks that he doesn't have a woman sitting on his peer table because she didn't try hard enough or didn't want it hard enough. So there is no comprehension. अगर comprehension नहीं है, तो उसकी funding कैसे करोगे?
Wow.
So that day we had come back. Yeah, it was, मतलब it had shaken me up as I realized by the तब तक 15 कुछ interviews हुए थे जो एकदम uniform चल रहे थे. There was no surprise. Same. So at home, we had come back and EdelGive at that time had just started funding economic empowerment with social norms. So our whole thing was that जब तक social norm address नहीं होंगे, औरत को कमाई देके कोई फायदा नहीं. So I had घर पे मतलब office में आके we created a formula saying that WE is equal to SE plus EE, which is women empowerment is equal to social empowerment and plus economic empowerment. I'd created because looking at the kind of men I had, each was an engineer or a math buff. After that I took, हमारे एक पेज पे ऊपर फॉर्मूला होता था, उसका वो की होता था और उसके नीचे ये सब होता था. 15 NGOs है, ये क्लस्टर है, ये फॉर्मूला के बेसिस पे फंडिंग हो रहा है. It's been 8 years. I have never explained it again. Because for an average, smart, intelligent funder of the commercial kinds who doesn't have context, a formula must have been proven right. And I have never been asked कि ये कैसे है, क्या है, अच्छा ये fund, अच्छा इस formula के basis पे ये है. Okay, in 6 months the fund started. I went to Ford first. Ford आया, Ford को convince करने का story अलग है, but the fund started. We had private funders come in to fund social norms work, which was blended in economic empowerment. The first cycle of 6 years is just over. We are going to do it again. But the value of the right message to the right listener in the right way, without compromising your core work. And the high I have felt when that fund started, because quite तभी अभी भी कौन fund करता है gender, but yeah, that made it work.
Wow. And I just want to connect what you said to what we spoke about earlier today. And we were talking about understanding the needs of people that you're
Talking to.
And I think this really exemplifies that if you don't understand their needs, you're not going to be able to fulfill them. Then you're just talking about what you want to talk about. But this, like you said, I mean, that was really lovely. I've never had to explain it because that's what these guys needed. Right. So I think that's really, really wonderful. I think we're, Arsha, do you want to say something more?
No, this is fun.
Yeah.
ये तो एक super golden rule. I'm also taking away. I realized we have not been using any formulas in our life. I mean, my background is physics and various things. Why not use any of this? You're giving me a golden rule now. It's too late for me, but really, honestly, for you all the ISDM students here, I tell you this really. Naghma has put it in such a simple way. And you need, this is like building a narrative in the way the other person wants to hear. So it may sound very straightforward, but this is like pure wisdom. मेरे को 10 साल 20 साल पहले मिला होता, we would have been in a different place. Thanks.
नहीं, but the whole idea is why ना, मुझे बोलना है, but तुम क्यों सुनो?
Exactly.
मतलब और ये जो है कि मुझे बहुत प्यार है मेरे काम से, तुमको क्यों हो?
Absolutely.
So that because you're a good person, because climate change is real, because the world is going to be a better place, नहीं कट होता यार, सबकी life journey अलग है.
That's so
Beautiful.
yeah, I mean that's what you said was also for the collaborative, like I mean for Grow, because this one came on board because I said, I can learn from this and create a fund for my for the issue that I'm passionate about or we need to work on.
Be collaborative or not. If you really want something in life, figure out the why.
Yeah.
Why should it happen? Why should someone do it?
Yeah.
तुम्हारे सामने वाले का why समझ लो. There are very high chances of success.
That's true. Yeah, that's really a lovely note to end on. I wanted you to actually end with saying a message for the developed ISDM students But this seems like the best message to take away, according to me.
No, I actually, to the ISDM students or to anyone in the development sector, my real message nahi. All of this is there, but I really believe that we have to also remember all this is really hard. It's very hard. It's very nice. I mean, I'm feeling really good recounting everything good that happened, telling you all the anecdotes. This journey is hard. Something that bothers me is the romance of the sector is, yes, those moments are there. And honestly, there are too many moments that make it so worth it. That really make it so worth it. But there are many, many more moments where you're wondering, Sara, kyun isme pad gaye? And we have to be ready for it. You just have to, there's nothing to fear, because honestly, even I believe the rewards are far better than the pitfalls. But when you're in the shit, the reward is a very distant dream. And we have to recognize it as we move forward. We don't talk much about it. I think this is hard work and it's really worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. That's an important message too. I totally agree with you that it's like recognize that it's hard work. And it seems that we only hear the rosy stories, but actually there's a lot more to it than those rosy stories. So I'm just going to request, thanks a lot, Naghma, from our side, but we also have one of the students who wants to say a note of thank you, vote of thanks, and a note of thank you. Thank you. I just want to say from our side, really grateful for you to make the time. I know you're very, very busy, and I know you're traveling again in a couple of days, and there's a lot going on as always in your life, but really grateful that you've come here. And I mean, really, like Ashur said, lots of things that I've learned. So it's just been fabulous to have you with us, but I'm going to hand you over to
Thank you.
Arjun to,
Hi, Naghma. So that indeed was an eye-opener session for the past 60 minutes. It is always pleasant and productive to have an interaction with a sector expert like yourself. The take you have for collaborative functioning and last mile approach is inspirational. It was always wonderful to know how you have balanced values and money in your career. You have shown us that there is a lot of grace in saying no when it's a no. As we recently wrapped up a course on fundraising, your session was actually an advanced class on the topic of fundraising, which is the role few of us in this cohort will be learning soon. The concept of joining a team to give up one's power is a humbling point and a deep topic that we all need to reflect more on. As outgoing development professionals, we hope to integrate the lessons we've absorbed during the past 1 hour. I'm sure the insights you shared are going to be stepping stones for this cohort to prosper professionally and contribute judiciously to the sector. On behalf of the entire cohort, I thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule and interacting with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Very honored, and good luck to all of you for everything that's about to come.
thank you, Naghma. But we're going to do a special, there's a farewell, what I don't know if it's a farewell, but a celebration of you. And I'm going to ask Asha to lead that because she does this really well.
I think we just do it like a standing celebration. So if we can, everyone stand and nothing, we can't reach you, Naghma, but you can imagine that we are all together. We know the work. Sorry, can I take the mic?
I can hear you.
Okay. I think, Naghma, a beautiful human being you are. As a professional, we learn a lot from you every day. And thank you for today. Sorry, I don't want to do 100 thank you speeches, but I really loved it. So I want to say a little bit extra. We can't be with you right now, but we want you to imagine that we are right here next to you and giving you a big hug. And so just like everybody, just like do a little hug like this. So she's right there with us.
Thank you.
And we celebrate you by putting our energies into your beautiful self and use your name as an embodiment of that. So we will raise Naghma into a celebratory sound into the universe. So let's do that like we do. Yeah. Naghma, Naghma, Naghma.
Oh. Thank you so much.